Hello and welcome to Politics on Sunday. I am Femi Akonde. Well, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was at Chatham House in London to tell it all and also articulate the plans and programs of his campaign and also tell Nigerians and indeed the world what he would do if he's elected as president. Since after that interview, the social media has been buzzing. There have been conversations in different media fora, people talking about Tinubu. His name has also been trending for different reasons. Well, I have joining me here today the Assistant Director, Media and Publicity in the Directorate of Media and Communications of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Otunba Biodun Ajiboye. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, since after the chat Asiwaju had in Chatham House, a lot of people have been talking, but what they are particular about is his delegating or how he delegated members of his team to answer questions on his behalf. Some people have come out to say, no, there's nothing wrong in this. He can delegate, he won't do it alone. And some people have said, no, we expected him to answer it all by himself.
Well, but what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu had demonstrated, like I said on a different program recently, is a dynamic leadership attribute. People do not appreciate what that man is, and we need to begin to appreciate him while he's alive. That's a man who believes that the art of statesmanship or governance is not a matter for some monopoly of ideas. It's a matter for dynamic leadership. Those of us who had the privilege of studying leadership, we understand how leadership evolves. And the truth of the matter is that different styles exist for different leaders. A man who believes in assembling eggheads, experts, intelligent people to handle different facets of governance is a man who from the beginning has a focused insight into what he wants to achieve. Therefore, at the onset, he says, look, we can have a conversation among ourselves, we can build a team, we can form a formidable winning team from this point. We can look at the problem of the state from a distance and begin to offer solution now, even before we win elections. That is a man who is prepared for the job. That is a man who has insight into what can happen, what will happen, and if they do happen, how does he tackle them? That is the essence of planning. The whole concept of administration is actually planning. When you plan, it's part of planning to identify who has the right know-how to address issues. What the man has simply demonstrated in Chatham House is the fact that, hey, he's telling the world, I have a plan for my country. Should I be elected today, I will hit the ground running meticulously and I will not be found wanting. He had identified the people that would be able to do certain job, how they would do it. He had taken propositions from them. He had studied the propositions. He had analyzed the propositions. He had taken these propositions to the laboratory for other views to criticize, critique, and make sure these propositions are perfect.
Should we now be looking at his team, because he says he's a team player and he's going to bring certain people, like you said, eggheads on board to deliver the goods? Should we now be looking at his team and begin to scrutinize them to also look at their capacity, because that is very important, the team he brings on board to help push that renewed hope agenda?
There are categories of this into this idea. The team you put together to develop your plan may not necessarily be the team you put together to action these plans. May not necessarily be the team you put together to evaluate your activities. So it is too early in the day to say that this is the team that will follow him to Aso Rock. But so far so good. The team we have right now is the team that is putting ideas together. At the end of the day, these ideas will now be, see, in evaluation of human capacity, there are people that are gifted in designing ideas. When it comes to execution, they may not be too good in execution. There are people who are perfect in execution, but they cannot birth ideas. So these are the stages of development. So it may be too early in the day to begin to see or feel that he already assembled his team. But he has an operational management team. Operational now is we are going to campaign. What are we campaigning with? What topic are we discussing? How do we want to do this if we get to power? Those people are already working on all of that. It was a team that worked on the action plan. Don't forget. So this is just the way it is. And this team is calibrated into different sectors. Those who take on security. The last time we were in Mina, Atiku Bagudu went up to speak about agriculture. His proposition was so astounding, was so profound that Asiwaju himself felt, wow. Please, Atiku Bagudu, begin to put together what our roadmap will be on agriculture. You understand what I'm saying? So he's getting ideas from different areas, and this is the way to prepare. When he was governor of Lagos, for instance, he gathered 50 wise men thereabout and said, look, put a plan together, 50-year plan together for Lagos. That is the result of what we are seeing today. A good leader, a good management expert does not embark on a journey without proper planning. You must be able to say 1 year into this journey what will happen, 2 years into this journey what will happen, 3 years into this journey what will happen. You must be able to foresee, forecast, calibrate, project. That is the only way you can do this job effectively well. I give it to him. He's a sharp mind.
But if you look at some members of the opposition making efforts to rubbish some of the things or achievements credited to Asiwaju Bola Tinubu in Lagos State. I remember the PDP was there to campaign, and the presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar mentioned several infrastructural projects in Lagos that are like trademarks of Lagos, and said that these are federal government projects and the development of Lagos should not be credited to Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, but rather the federal government, I think during the military era, should be given credit for developing Lagos, and it shouldn't be used by the APC as or to be used by the APC to score campaign points.
Is that all you could say? I have nothing to say to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's responsibility now is to whittle down Asiwaju at all costs. So he needs to look for points that are weak, points that are non-existent, to make his case. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has been trying to be president for many years, to the extent that he has nothing new to say to the people of Nigeria. Check out Obi Ekwesili. I don't know if I pronounced her name well. She gave us a complete dossier on Atiku Abubakar while he was vice president. He was, so to speak, was without apology a failure, to the extent that he has nothing. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has no record to point to. He has no record to point to. So he's talking about.
Remember, he led the privatization drive of.
And he bought and he almost bought half of it into his private pocket. Isn't it so? Didn't they buy half of it? What has their privatization on electricity, whatever, what has it done to Nigeria? You see, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is not in a position to talk about Lagos. He doesn't have an idea. This is a man who says, look, the IGR of Lagos was 600 million. Before he left office in 2007, it was close to 14 billion a month. You are not talking about that. You are not talking about financial engineering that can make development possible. You are talking about.
He also referred to the Apapa Road, the Oshodi Road, where the one the federal government constructed. That these are federal government projects.
So what does it matter? Is it federal government that raised the revenue of Lagos? Is it federal government that is doing the blue rail line Lagos is doing, domestic rail? Is it Lagos? Is it federal government that done the housing estates everywhere? Is it Lagos? Is it federal government that opened the road from Ozumbambadue up Bonicamp to law school? That road. Is it federal government that did it? Is it federal government that did Akeade Shola? That road Is it federal government that did it? Was it federal government at that time that did Ojuelegba Itire Road? Was it federal government? And many roads in Lagos. Was it federal government that turned Lagos Island into a complete business district that we see today? Was it federal government? The man had nothing to say. He doesn't even understand what Asiwaju has done in Lagos. Look, even if you do not see any infrastructure, the fact that there are successions, successive government coming peacefully to continue from where X or Y had stopped is a development that can bring peaceful development, continual development in human capital, in infrastructure. When Jakande was governor of Lagos, schools were in the poorest infrastructural states. Schools were on shift basis. But you see, give it to Jakande, what the man just did was, look, education must be made available. And that was a start. What Asiwaju did with education was to give education infrastructure. He took from where Jakande stopped, and we can see the consequence of that today in Lagos. Asiwaju knew to the extent that the teachers must be well remunerated, the teachers must be equipped, the teachers must be motivated on one hand. Encouraging students, he was paying NECO fees for almost all students at the time. That is an attempt to develop the future of Lagos. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has a university, I think in Adamawa. That university is not accessible to the poor. The man does not have a moral position to vie for the presidency of Nigeria at this point in time. Look, if I were Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, I would have stopped this idea, because go and read the book Obasanjo wrote on him and go and see the way his character has been portrayed. So we shouldn't discuss Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is having fun. That's what I feel. And let's move on to more serious issues that can eulogize and put our candidate, my principal, in proper perspective before the people of Nigeria.
Yeah, you know, your principal, Asiwaju Bola Tinubus, said in a BBC interview that he's the front runner in the presidential race, and that is why he's getting so many attacks, so many arrows. And then people understand he's one of the front runners, and because of that, a lot of people are talking about him and also want to scrutinize him. And there's this conversation that it appears as if he is shunning invitation from media organizations in Nigeria, but we just saw him speak to the BBC.
I was at a media. I attended a TV appearance. I had a TV appearance recently, and the same thing the journalist tried to put across to me. But the fact remains that if you are worried about the fact that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not attended town hall meeting, he has a choice of medium. He has a choice where he wants to be seen, how he wants to be seen. It's his fundamental right. However, the news medium in question has not demonstrated the required professional neutrality expected of any serious medium to earn our respect. I mean, just because even if you look at the pattern of question their correspondent was asking in London, it was a little bit provocative, but it's okay. You don't expect everybody to fan your ego at any point in time. That's not what Asiwaju is interested in. And I'm saying that it will be very wrong to say that Asiwaju is shying away from media appearances. No.
If local media.
Yes. If the only local media he probably have refused to attend, which we in our directorate have bluntly told them that Asiwaju doesn't have the time now.
In the BBC interview, Asiwaju responded to a question about his source of wealth, and this has also been one major issue a lot of people talk about. But another person has said that the obsession about Asiwaju's source of wealth could also be because we live in a country where there are a lot of poor people, and politicians now feel that the only way to appeal to the poor is to pretend to be poor. That is why a lot of them come out to criticize Asiwaju's wealth.
Well, first of all, I must let you understand that Asiwaju is a newsmaker. Right from his days as governor of Lagos, he has always been attractive to critics. They want to criticize. Now that he wants to be president, some have sworn that never in their lifetime will they allow him to be president. So they are throwing jabs and arrows at him at will. Talking about his wealth, can anybody actually know how wealthy another person is if you do not see his bank account? It's difficult. If you say Asiwaju is wealthy, I'll ask you, how wealthy do you reckon he is?
He said he's the most investigated.
He said so by himself.
He
He said so by himself that they have investigated him. Nuhu Ribadu came out to let us know how much he was investigated as governor of Lagos immediately after he left office. He was docked by the CCB at a point to scrutinize him about the source of his wealth. But then, we must be honest with ourselves. Femi, this is a man who is an accountant, a financial guru. His job basically is to understand how to make money, how to invest money. As a matter of fact, if an accountant of his caliber is not wealthy, then we should be talking about a lot of things. He had been able to handle a lot of responsibilities that should give him a leverage to invest, to identify investment avenues that can yield results. So, as long as the state, Nigeria has not found him culpable of any corrupt practice. They have not taken him to court for any corrupt practice. Every negative thing anybody wants to say has been said over the years. There's no new thing negative that anybody can say about Asiwaju. They've exhausted it, from his parentage, from his paternity, from his schools at the earlier stage, the schools he attended, to his wealth, to the way he ran Lagos, to the fact that he owns half of Lagos. All those things, all those conjectures had been attended to, they had fizzled out.
Asiwaju Bola Tinubu gave President Muhammadu Buhari a lot of credit for the way he has handled the affairs of the country, security, the economy, infrastructure, and all other sectors of the country. But there are a lot of critics who also feel that President Buhari may not have performed so well to get the kind of credit Asiwaju is given.
Interestingly, Buhari has not done as badly as people are touting. I hope a time will come where there will be a catalogue of achievement of Buhari put in proper perspectives. Then we will know how well he has done. Buhari never abandoned any project of PDP. He continued with them, completed them. In terms of infrastructure, hardly could you compare Buhari's government with any government.
Even in education, his government has spent the highest.
That's
over 7 years, he spent more than 6 trillion naira.
Exactly so. PDP never spent half of that in 16 years. Now, the point is that people who want to criticize Buhari find it easy to criticize him. The reason is simple. The information machinery of the present government does not appear robust enough to take their achievement to the common man on the street. And that's what a government must do. A man in Kaura Namuda does not know that rail from Ibadan to Lagos is effectively working. A man in interior of Kano does not know that second Niger Bridge has been completed. The only way such a man can know is through mass media. So, government has a responsibility to communicate their success effectively to the people. If they do not, the successes will be suppressed and the failures will be brought to limelight. However, there's no government that can score 100%. No government. So, bulk of the job is actually to amplify the successes of a government by their communication architecture. If that communication architecture is not properly put together, such government will have a problem of public image.
Okay, and then with the achievements of President Muhammad Buhari, if Asiwaju Bola Tinubu gets elected, how solid a base will all of this be for him to now build on?
You see, when you evaluate a government, I was a student of public administration, so I have always known that one of the major problems Nigeria has is how to evaluate government. People do not, because the common man on the street does not even know how to evaluate government. This government has its positives. Like I said, never in this country has Nigeria been able, we have never at any time been able to feed ourselves. We were importing practically everything we fed on or we feed on as a country. The first time in Nigeria during Buhari's regime, we were able to grow enough rice to consume. We were even exporting. At a point, a year or 2 years ago, we exported about 1,000 tons of rice. That is an achievement we cannot turn our faces away from. And I'll tell you what I mean. We need to build on those opportunities, on those performances. Even if you talk about security, before 2015 elections, even people who lived in Abuja were living in fear. Abuja was bombed many times attacked many times by Boko Haram. In the last 7 years, Abuja has not been attacked. If anybody does not see that as an achievement, then they can't see anything. Two, before 2015 elections, about 17 to 19 local governments were under the siege of Boko Haram with their flags hoisted. Right. Then about 4 local governments were affected to the extent that we almost did not even have election in 4 states at that time. Those things are no longer there. Of course, I will admit simply before you here that other problems reared their heads, ugly heads. Such problems like kidnapping and herdsman, all of that, banditry, all of that. But between you and I, the problem of others and farmers in Benue was so bad in 2017. How come we don't hear about them so much anymore? Even Boko Haram, even banditry and all of that, the noise of those things have subsided. But we should not, Bola Tinubu's government will take it over from where this government had stopped. We need to improve on our military personnel. We need minimum of 600 to 700 military population. 1,000. What we have now is about 300 or less. That is not enough for the kind of insurgencies, internal crisis we are facing now.
And to match the huge population.
And to match the huge population that has been growing exponentially. And Asiwaju's government will, by the grace of God, we have a lot of pedestals to build on, especially on agriculture. Even this security we are talking about, we already know what to do. Asiwaju is not a person that will wait until he is elected before he draws his roadmap. We already have this calibrated in proper portfolio and proper compartments, how to run, how to move, and how to be successful.
There's a lot for Asiwaju to do when he hits the ground running. And another conversation that people have had is about his health. You have at this on this platform come to debunk all of that, but this has refused to go away. People are still talking about his health and how he is going to handle the rigors of office as president.
Femi, people are mischievous. Now, if you say Asiwaju does not have good health, how come he has been on the road since campaign started? He hasn't broken down. Can you be going all over the place without good health? Is it possible? You see, we should stop believing some of these naysayers who have agenda. They have their plans. They have their motive. The motive is to whittle down Asiwaju. Asiwaju has no ill health. You saw him dancing in London. A man with ill health cannot take those rigors. Do they know what they call ill health?
Cannot buga.
What are we talking about? The man is on his feet. We were in Bielsa together. Immediately he came from Bielsa. He's been in a lot of places. I was with him in Mina. Immediately after Mina, he went to Nasarawa. He's been going around. Is it easy for somebody who doesn't have good health? How come Atiku is not able to go that much round? So much. Even though Peter Obi has not been able to make as many rounds as Asiwaju has made. How can you have bad health and you be junketing all over the place in such a very easy way? The issue of bad health is not an issue to discuss. It's a waste of energy. I can tell you that for free. If he has bad health or he has no bad health, let them watch now. It doesn't mean anything.
But there's this barrage of fake news, deliberate misinformation, and all of that currently in the political space. And a fair share of them seem to be targeted at the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju. We saw the fake letter from INEC. We've even seen the rumor about his US visa and a whole lot of other issues. But how do you handle all of these at every point in time without also removing your eyes from the ball?
Well, the media department, the Directorate of Media is split into 4. We have Directorate of Public Affairs, we have Directorate of New Media, we have Directorate of Media and Publicity, and we have Directorate of Strategic Communications. Now, we have an advisor. Dele Alake is the media advisor who supervises all these directorates. Now, what happens is that, for instance, even before primaries, I was doing quite a lot of debunking of those. For instance, there was a time they brought his a picture, doctored picture, and he was looking so old in that picture while he was in Maka. And they said Bola Tinubu is very old. And we traced the source of that picture. We realized that the original picture was manipulated and to give them the picture of their desire. They are so scared that this guy nobody can stop this guy. Ele Momodu himself said so, that the moment Asiwaju picks the ticket, there's no stopping him. They know they can't stop him. And the only way they can affect him is to continue to destroy him every step of the way, so that people will begin to feel bad about him. But we are not going to let that happen. The 4 directorates are up to the task. Each and every dirty arrow or dirty tribe they throw, we counter immediately. And that way we are in charge. That way we are informed. We are able to capture. We are able to put in check all those dirty things.
All right, then. Thank you. A fine place to leave it. An assistant director of media and publicity in the Directorate of Media and Communications of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Otunba Biodun Ajiboye, helping us put everything into perspective from the Chatham House to other issues surrounding the presidential candidate of the APC. Thank you very much for your time on the program.
Pleasure.
See you next time.